Okay, so we're live now. Hey, Matt, welcome in. Hey, Daniel, welcome. We're going to get started in just around a minute and a half now. So feel free to get comfortable and we'll get started. There we go. Hey, Jacob, welcome in. Brandon, thanks for joining us today. Should have some more students joining here within the next couple of seconds here. I'm going to assume that other students are going to trickle in as we're getting started. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off with some quick updates. So thanks again, folks, for joining us. Welcome to our second October Major Monday event. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If we can just hit our next slide, please. Sweet. Awesome. So before we get started and dive into some of our more engineering related topics tonight, I want to make sure that you're all aware that Colorado Free Application Day is tomorrow. So if you're an in-state student coming for an undergraduate degree, when you submit your application tomorrow, the application fee will be waived. So as a freshman student, you have a couple of different ways to complete that application, whether that's through the Common App or the UCCS specific application. So you can find us on the Common App's website, or if you go to our homepage, you can find our application there too. Feel free to complete those, and as soon as you submit it, we will waive that application for you tomorrow. Again, that's open for all in-state students who are interested in an undergraduate degree. And then, of course, if you enjoyed today's event, or if you've joined us before for Major Mondays before, then you're familiar with Major Mondays. We have two more upcoming events, one on October 19th. We have sports management coming out to join us, and then following them, a second presentation also on October 19th with PGA Pro Golf Management. On October 26th, another one of those double deals. So business is going to join us first at this time, and then human services will follow them afterwards. So if you're curious about any of those majors, join us on the 19th and the 26th of this month, and we'll host those events for you there. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to some of our folks joining us today to present.
Thanks, Eddie. My name is Michael Coral. I'm the Assistant Dean of the College of Engineering and Applied Science. I came here this past summer after spending 20-some years at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. I'm excited to be here and excited to go through the first admission cycle here as the Assistant Dean. Before we get into the electrical and computer engineering part of the program tonight, I just want to touch on a few things that apply to the College of Engineering and Applied Science. First of all, the college is made up of three departments: the computer science department, electrical and computer engineering, which you'll hear more about this evening, and the mechanical and aerospace engineering. There's two academic buildings currently on campus. There's the engineering building, which is shown in the bottom there, and the Osborne Center, which houses all of our engineering faculty and staff and programs and labs. To give you an idea how big a program UCCS's College of Engineering and Applied Science is, we have excuse me, about 1,700 students. 1,400 of them are undergrad and 300 graduate students. And you can see the breakdown here: about 33% in mechanical aerospace, about 41% in computer science, about 7% are in the college but sort of undecided, and then around 20% electrical computer engineering. So a healthy number in each of the programs. So I'll pass, I think we missed our slide here. I think I'll pass it over now to Professor Kalker, who will talk about the undergraduate degrees in electrical and computer engineering. Professor?
I'm T.S. Kalkur. I joined UCCS 1985. This is my 36th fall semester at UCCS. So I enjoy every minute of my work at UCCS. So I'm talking about the electrical and computer engineering department. And we offer BS in electrical engineering, BS in computer engineering, BS in data analytics and system engineering, and BI data analytics and systems engineering. In BS in electrical engineering, we do design and analysis of electrical devices. People may ask some questions, what is the difference between these two different engineering disciplines? In BS computer engineering, design and analysis of software and hardware. And in data analytics, we deal with systems integration and data analysis. And BI is a Bachelor of Innovation program in systems and data analysis with business background. Next slide. So now in electrical and computer engineering, we have different areas. So one is the first power systems, which goes through the distribution and transmission of power, power generation and things like that. And then we have microelectronics, where we deal with how to fabricate chip, various sensors, and designing of chips and things like that. You know that VLSI chips are important in every part of human life. And then we have controls also, where we discuss with how to control different devices and things like that. And then we have digital and analog systems and signal processing, and as well as telecommunications, robotics, electromagnetics, embedded systems, and real time. Electrical engineering is or computer engineering is a very broad area. There are maybe around 40, 50 IEEE journals in the electrical and computer engineering area. And you can see, we cover all the main areas of electrical and computer engineering. And you can see the applications whether it is a space related, or whether it's a computer, or whether it's the communication or biomedical applications. So electrical engineering is extremely important. Thanks, Michael. So next thing is, like you may ask, what is the importance of electronics and computer engineering? You can see the cars are all becoming electric car. By 2040, there will not be any gasoline cars in the United States. Everything will be replaced by electrical vehicles. And electrical vehicle needs batteries, battery controls, so many chips, as well as communication between cars and things like that. So, it is our car is becoming basically a electronics toy. So next one is the computers. You can see the impact of computers in our life. We use computers everywhere, right? Whether it is for, nowadays you want to study also, all the, with the COVID, we do all the instruction through the computers. And then for communication or data analysis, everywhere, everything is done with computers. And the next one is basically the energy generation. This is a solar panel, and people are replacing all the fossil fuels with solar energy. And solar energy starts with electrical engineering. Basically, we are converting sunlight into electricity and then using it for generating the clean power, which saves our universe from global warming. And then next is the, application of, electrical engineering for analyzing the biosignals, like your heart rate, or whether you are, imaging and all those things is done through electrical engineering. So if you go to hospital, you see 90% of electrical engineering instruments, only 10% in a medical area. So you can see the impact of electrical engineering on day-to-day life of human being. And then iPhone, right, smartphones. So the world sells, billions of cell phones, smartphones now, and you can see the amount of wealth we generate through the smartphones. And Apple is basically a $1 trillion company, or coming to $2 trillion. So Apple has so much electrical engineering part in that, and we assemble everything in a small space. And without smartphone, we can't live in this world now. It is like a heart outside our body, right? Inside the body, heart is important. Outside the body, the smartphone that is important. So in the data analysis, because nowadays, data analysis and system engineering becoming extremely important because our data is increasing. Like, for example, if you see the storage, nowadays you want to store a picture, the cameras are all like megapixel cameras, and you have to store the picture. And then, even if you make a chip, if it's a 1 gigabit memory or 1 terabyte memory, you can see when you test the chip, how much data you generate. So analyzing that data is becoming extremely important. And another thing is, system design. So system requirement becomes extremely important. And then in engineering science, we cover that. Statistical modeling, because everything is statistics. It's very difficult. That's why predictive modeling is becoming very important. When you invite a guest to your house, you can't ask them how much you are going to eat on that day, right? They'll be mad at you if you ask them how much you are going to eat, but you have to prepare food. Then we have used statistics. If we invite 50 people, how much food do you have to cook? So therefore, in every part of our life, statistics is extremely important. So similarly, data science and management, and then presenting the data in a very useful way. That's called data visualization. You gather data and you visualize it for the person who wants to see the data. And optimizing it. Optimizing is extremely important because everything varies with certain parameters, and then engineers always operate in a to optimize it. Like everything follows a bathtub curve, and we operate in the middle of the curve always, so that we can maximum use of it. And decision analysis, system integration. And so all these important areas are covered in data analysis and system engineering. And this is becoming one of the most important areas in computation, right? And we have in Colorado Springs, there are so many commercial and federal companies, and they always look for people with the background in system engineering and data analysis. So then we also offer a lot of, I think the Mike can explain it, I think.
Yeah, so regardless of what major you are, you certainly have the option to pick up some minors. And in some cases, the minor will only require a few extra courses in order to get that minor. These are minors that are in the College of Engineering and Applied Science, and there's certainly the ability to get a minor outside of the college as well. And a lot of people might tend towards math or physics minors. But again, you're not limited to just electrical computer engineering. You can branch out to some other closely related fields with just a few extra courses here and there. And some, if you want to go further away from your current field, you'll just have to take more classes. So there's certainly something that is possible here at UCCS.
So now I'm like, what are our focus, electrical engineering, electrical and computer engineering? We stress on fundamental understanding of the subject. That is important for us. Like whenever you build a house, we always see the foundation, how good it is. We do soil testing, and then we put our foundation. Same thing. When we teach our students, we stress on fundamental understanding of the subject. It's important for us. And hands-on oriented learning experience. We have very good laboratories we established over the years because we are one of the oldest department in the college, started like 1965. And we have a small class size. Our class size is basically typically 40 students, maximum 40 to 50. And we have close interaction between faculty and students. I know every student's name in my class. And if their face is dull, I ask them, what is the problem with you and all those things. So a very good interaction with students. And exposure to state-of-the-art computer design tools. We have all kinds of tools you can find in any major university. We license them so that we can teach all the tools required for students in real life. And senior level classes are to bridge the gap between academics and industry. So like what happens is the industry is developing so fast, and then we don't want to keep the gap between academics and industry large. because then students it becomes difficult for students to practice in the real world. So in a C-level classes, we try to bring that gap as low as possible. And then we have a senior design project in close collaboration with the industry. So most of our projects are sponsored by industry, and we want students to give 3 presentations so that it helps improve their communication skill. So when you go for a job interview nowadays, they want to see your communication skill. And we train the students, and all the faculty will present during your presentation, and they critique your presentation also. And ours is a ABET, all our programs are ABET accredited. It's an ABET accredited program. It's a national agency which accredits engineering program so that you can transfer from one school to other school and things like that. And the employment opportunities are excellent. 70 to 80% of our students, they get a job, before they graduate. This is our data in 2018-19. I didn't meet them personally in 2019 and 20 because of the COVID. Otherwise, we meet every graduating student and ask their opinion about the program, how is the employment status, and things like that. So we have a very good program. So you won't be disappointed if you join UCCS. Then regarding the faculty, you can see we have faculty from all kinds of universities, all top universities, and then they're all from all over the world. So, you can see people are, we are local people, and then we have people from Canada, and then we have people from Korea, India, and things like that, Romania, and all kinds of countries. So engineering is a global profession. It is not confined to a single country or things like that. And so you get globalized education when you come to UCCS, because you see how different country people behave in a different way, so that when you go to that country, you don't have any cultural shock. So you're already exposed to them while you are in the school. So I always tell my students, when you work, when you take classes UCCS, or then they're in my class, they learn the subject, and also they see how Indians behave actually, so that you get exposed to different cultures also. So automatically, globalization is involved in our program. I think this Mike's.
Sure. The point of the slide is just talk about the various opportunities for undergraduate students. Certainly, there's, kind of going around the circle here, there's professional clubs. In those clubs, you can interact with local professionals. You basically are at the forefront of information, and the point of these professional societies and clubs is to make sure that they're sharing information and staying current. There's several internship opportunities for both credit and non-credit, and the college here has a person that works very closely with all our industry partners and helps the students get internships as early as, I think, the summer after their first year. A lot of research. The faculty is doing a lot of research, and then a lot of times they bring in undergrads into those research projects to help jumpstart, kind of their further education beyond just the classroom, which I think a lot of students feel good because it's hands-on, it's real world, it's solving problems that are out there. There's different competitive clubs. There's lots of these going on. I'm probably more familiar with some of the ones in mechanical, but there's clubs that do like competitions across the nation. You've seen things like solar power race cars, things like that, where you have people from multiple disciplines getting involved into the projects. Finally, there's different labs. There's academic labs and there's research labs, and I think there's more on that in the next slide. So I'll pass it back to Professor Kaplan.
Yeah, so we have this, we have a variety of labs in our electrical and computer engineering department. We have a clean room. That's surprising that a small school has a clean room. So it is a 4,000 square foot of clean class 100 clean room we have, so that we can process a variety of devices. And then we have a signals lab where you can study signals for communications and things like that. And that all these labs are well equipped. And then we have electromagnetics lab where you can study antennas, filters, and things like that. Everything, all for hands-on experience. And then microelectronics lab, as I told you, you can do, not only reading the book, you can make those devices in the lab and see the experience. And then we have a Cadence University program where we get all the IC chip design tools available for students. And then we have a Gates Center for Excellence for Innovative Drivetrains. We have a group which is well known all over the world in predicting the state of charge in batteries. And they teach classes for all over the country. And it is called as Gates Center of Excellence in Innovative Drivetrains. And UCCS offers this program, online program for the whole United States. Then next thing you may ask, when you do all this hard work, if there is only a stick or whether there is a carrot at the end of it, right? When I'm a student, I always look for a carrot. Otherwise, I don't take that stick, So therefore, if you see, there are so many companies, locally, like we have Keysight Technology, Black Forest Engineering, EM Microelectronics, General Dynamics, Aerospace Corporation, Fairchild Semiconductor, Samtech, SRC, Microchip, Kratos, Maxim, Lockheed Martin, Cypress, Broadcom, Analog Devices, Raytheon, so Northrop Grumman, Aeroflex, that is now called as Cobham now, and Harris Corporation, and Colorado Engineering Inc., and HP. So there are so many companies in the town, and it is easy to find internships, right? And after internship, you can get a job there also. So that is why we are lucky that you are not in a campus town where you have to drive 100 miles to find an internship or something, right? Once you drive 2-3 miles, you have a lot of opportunities waiting for you. Regarding scholarship to EC students, one of our former student, he was a student in 1983, and he graduated from UCCS, and he joined Qualcomm, and he retired as a vice president, and he donated $1 million to the department, and out of which 750,000 we put it as a Professor Mike Shirley scholarship, because that student liked the class of Professor Mike Shirley, who was one of the toughest professor at UCCS. They might have not liked him at that time, but when he went to job, he said every topic he studied, he used it in his life. So he wanted Dr. Shirley to decide how to spend that money. And we put that money in his scholarship account. So under that fund, we use 8K, one we offer 8K scholarship, and we have several 4K scholarship also. But to get that scholarship, we have to apply for that. We have about 8 to 10 scholarships, and our aim is to attract very good students to the program so that the whole program will improve, right? So we have a lot of scholarship opportunities, and when more students sponsor more scholarships, we may go to multi-million-dollar scholarships in the future. And what are the highlights of contribution of ECE? So one of our ECE faculty, he contributed ferroelectric memory technology to the world as an alternative memory, and it is alternative flash memory. So that is, people always think the small university like UCCS, can it contribute to the technology development of the world? We say yes, right? We have done that. And then our high power battery group developed algorithms to predict state of charge, and it is used in companies like General Motors, Ford Motors, and things like that. And some of our former students are venture capitalists. Like we have one student in Atherton, California. He funds a lot of small companies. And then I had one former student. He started a company on hearing aids, and that can run through solar cells instead of batteries, and he sold millions of it. And he's also a venture capitalist. And some of our former students are vice presidents and directors in companies such as Intel, Qualcomm, Broadcom, and so on. So when they got out of Colorado Springs, when they went to Silicon Valley, they prospered a lot. That shows the value of our education. Our education not localized at a small school. We teach for your success throughout the world itself, or that you can help the mankind.
So that sort of concludes the electrical computer engineering. I did want to touch on a few kind of new things that are going on in the College of Engineering and Applied Science. One is we have a third building, which is about a mile or so away from main campus here, and it serves as host to the National Cybersecurity Center, which is a nonprofit for cyber innovation and awareness, as well as Exponential Impact, which is an accelerator or incubator for tech startups. In addition, you can see the number there, $5.5 million in grants. So we're going to have about 30,000 square feet of new classrooms and labs, most of that taken in the cybersecurity building. And again, I mention this because there are overlaps between electrical, computer engineering, and cybersecurity. There's an endowed chair that's supposed to arrive here in January 2021 that we're real excited about to help push some of our cyber initiatives and education and research. The UCCS has been, I guess, accredited as DHS and NSA, which is the National Security Administration Center of Excellence in Cyber Defense and Education. This is a pretty lofty accreditation or certification for a university this size. Finally, as Professor Kalker mentioned, there's lots of relationships with Colorado Springs, IT, cyber, and other technical companies, which are a huge benefit to both the university and its students. We have close connections with all those partners. We learn a lot. We know what's going on in the world in these respective fields, and we leverage that to make the experience of our students that much better. So as you go through, and I'm sure most of you are looking at other schools, and as you look at different schools, I think you always want to ask, why would you want to go to that school over the other schools? And there's a lot of great things happening here at UCCS, and the big thing I would push is that it's very much a student-centered focus here, undergraduate focus. You saw the numbers where about 1,400 of the students are undergrads and 300 are graduate students. We are not a huge R1, Research 1 institution where a lot of the focus shifts towards the research side of things. Instead, we're very much focused on the students. We have tutoring centers, which we call Excel centers, which are designed to help students be successful, give you access to help when needed in your various courses. Professor Kalker mentioned before that the electrical computer engineering courses were ABET accredited. For those of you who don't know, ABET is kind of a outside body that basically certifies that our programs are worthy of the degree and gives us a lot of credibility in the degrees that we offer. It's a pretty rigorous process. It focuses on continuous improvement and assessment of our various goals, and it's something that you should definitely look for in an engineering and computer science programs. We mentioned the size of the institution. This is one of the things you have to figure out what's best for you and what you need. I would say UCCS is not too big and it's not too small. It's kind of nicely right there in the middle. It allows you access to your faculty while at the same time having a lot of extras that bigger schools can offer. There's a huge workforce demand here in Colorado Springs and beyond. So there's lots of companies here who are looking for our graduates pretty much as soon as they walk across the stage. They want them to start working, and that's not going to change anytime soon. These companies are moving here to Colorado Springs, and they're looking for more and more employees. In addition, that creates internship career opportunities. We have an office here that focuses on those things and helps the students with resume preparation and interview prep and linking students to potential employers. The workforce demand, regionally relevant majors go hand in hand. Professor Kalker also talked about scholarships. I would encourage all of you, and this is something you do, I guess, for your parents, is you make sure you investigate all the different scholarships there, both scholarships from as you're leaving high school and those that are particular here at UCCS. And I think it's important that you take advantage of all that. It's basically money. College is expensive. Anything you could do to help offset those costs is really good and it'll be real helpful to both you and your parents as you try to graduate without debt. Lastly, I'll say that I've been here a short time, but I can't help but be impressed with the students, the faculty, and the staff that I work with. They're all very caring. They're all trying to do what's best for the students, working really hard, especially now given the times that we're in, and doing everything that they can for the students. I get a couple of requests from students every once in a while, and usually it ends up with them telling me how good an experience they're having. So with that, I think we're going to shift to questions. And so what I'll ask is if Eddie, you can let us know how the chat looks. I can't see it from my perspective, but Eddie, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, chat has been kind of quiet and the Q&A has been quiet as well. If you all have any questions about what you've heard so far, please go ahead and type your questions into the Q&A, and that way we can address your questions. We also have a chat feature, but if you could drop your questions into the Q&A, that would be immensely helpful for us to answer them. If we have any links we can direct you to, I can respond and put them in the chat to let you all access those. But yeah, feel free to engage with us, submit those questions, and we'll take it from there. We'll open up the floor for a few minutes of those questions. So I guess we'll give them 1 or 2 minutes to type them in, and then we'll see where they're at. I think I saw that someone had raised their hand, but I think it's down now, so I'm assuming that they're typing. And in the meantime, I suppose to not let it be such an awkward silence, if it's okay if I say a few words, especially for students planning on getting started with any applications or kind of judging out what their options are and exploring what those might look like, is I highly encourage that you do take the opportunity to fill out your application and submit them, especially by tomorrow, so that you can take advantage of the free application day, which is a wonderful opportunity the state of Colorado is offering for our students. And that way, hopefully you can get admitted sooner rather than later, which is great, especially as we talk about scholarships. When those open up in December, if you're an admitted student, you'll have the opportunity to begin applying for those scholarships. And in many of those cases, the early bird does get the worm, excuse me. So definitely take advantage of that opportunity there. Don't see any questions coming in at all. Daniel doesn't have any questions. Thanks for clarifying that, Daniel. It looks like things are quiet, so I'll give it 1 more minute for Q&A. And if not, we will close it off there. Anything else that you guys would like to add, Professor Kalker or Michael?
Sure, I'll say a few last things. First of all, what I'd say to the folks online here is this is a very exciting time. I went through it a couple years ago with my oldest daughter. It's exciting to explore colleges and try to figure out what it is you want to do. I think the important thing is you go and you ask questions, and which, contrary to what we're seeing tonight, you formulate those questions. You could send them to Professor Kalker, myself, or the admissions office at any time, and we'll get answers to you. But you want to ask questions. You want to be as educated as you can before you make your decision where you want to go to school. It's very kind of weird time right now with the pandemic and what different schools are doing. I know here at UCCS, we're doing everything we can to continue as normal, but in a safe and healthy manner. It's challenging. We're, I think, living up to the challenge so far, and looking forward, we're controlling things. But again, going back, it's an exciting time. I think you explore different schools, ask questions. The more you ask, the more you learn, and I think you're gonna find that it's very helpful when it comes down to time to make a decision. And that decision is very complicated. You have to like the program. You have to consider costs and scholarships and all that factoring in. And I think you want to make sure you're as educated as you can before you make that decision.
You can send me an email anytime. I will always reply. I check my email every 2 hours. So you'll get reply very fast.
Excellent. It looks like we actually did get one question here. I think this one's for you, Professor Kalker.
Yeah.
Is there one class that you recommend that every high school student takes? I'm assuming this comes from the perspective of preparing for college and particularly electrical or computer engineering.
I think the robotics is a good class. Robotics shows how the hardware and software come together actually. So it's a hands-on class, and you build something and you see how things work, and that creates interest in electrical engineering or computer engineering. You need software as well as hardware to be successful engineer. So I may suggest robotics.
Sure, I'll jump in and give some, if you're at a school that doesn't offer robotics, I would say probably the best thing you could do to prepare for a technical degree, in particular electrical and computer engineering, you want to make sure you take as high a level math courses as you can, as well as physics. Those tend to be some challenges for folks when they first arrive in their first year, and any preparation you could do with those courses would be hugely valuable.
Excellent. Thank you both for that input there. It looks like that's all of our questions. So in order to not make it too long, I think it's going to cut things off today. So thanks again, Professor Kalker. Thanks again, Michael, for spending time with us today for Major Mondays. And to the students who joined us, feel free to join us for any future Major Monday events. But thank you for coming out. And everyone, enjoy your night. Have a great evening. Take care.
Thank you.